October 27, 2007. The crisp autumn air carried whispers through Ashland, Georgia, a town where everyone knew everyone, where secrets were currency, and where the Friday night lights of Lakeside High's football field were sacred ground. At 11:38 p.m., Richard and Ellen Keane's panicked voices crackled through the police dispatcher's headset. Their daughter, Madison, Maddie, Keane, hadn't returned from the homecoming dance. The clock's steady ticking seemed to mock their growing dread as they described their 17-year-old, 5 feet 6 inches, honey blonde hair, wearing a midnight blue dress with silver accents. A small birthmark on her left wrist. A silver pendant, a gift from her grandmother. "This isn't like her," Ellen's voice trembled. "She's never late. Never without calling." Officer Drew Mercer, a 20-year veteran of Ashland PD whose own daughter had babysat for the Keanes years ago, took the report with a frown. Maddie wasn't just any teenager. She was Lakeside High's cheerleading captain. A straight-A student. The girl who organized fundraisers for the town library and had recently been nominated for a statewide leadership award. "Last time you spoke with her?" Mercer's pen hovered above his notepad. "She called around 9, Richard said, gripping his wife's hand. "Said the dance was fine. That she was having fun." The Keanes' living room was a shrine to their only child. Academic certificates. Sports trophies. Photos of Maddie in her cheerleading uniform, her smile radiant. Ellen clutched her phone, calling Maddie's number for the 20th time that hour. Straight to voicemail. Across town, Luke Harding sat on the edge of his bed, staring at his phone. 3 missed calls from Maddie's mother. His knuckles were red, slightly swollen. He deleted the text thread between himself and Maddie, then turned his phone off. By midnight, panic spread through the small community like wildfire. The dance's supervisor, Mrs. Larson, confirmed that Maddie had left around 10:30 p.m. with a group of friends. The school's security footage, grainy and outdated, showed Maddie walking out the gymnasium doors, pausing to fix her heel, then disappearing from frame. "She said she wanted to walk home alone, get some air," explained Jenna Talbot, Maddie's best friend since 3rd grade. Her mascara had smudged from crying. "We offered to go with her, but she insisted she was fine. It's only 3 blocks. 3 blocks that would become the most scrutinized stretch of asphalt in Ashland's history." As dawn broke, search parties fanned out across the town. Parents, teachers, teammates, all calling Maddie's name into the misty morning. The local news van was parked outside the school, a reporter with concerned eyes interviewing the police chief. At 6:12 a.m., Dr. Thomas Wilson, a biology professor who jogged the same route every morning, spotted something unnatural among the reeds of Blackwater Creek. The waterway curved behind the school's football field, shallow but swift-moving after recent rains. "I thought it was trash at first," he would later testify, his voice hollow. "Then I saw her hand, just floating there." Maddie's body lay half-submerged in the cold water. Her midnight blue dress was torn at the shoulder. Her hands were bruised, defensive wounds according to the medical examiner. Her feet were bare, shoes missing. Most telling, she'd been strangled with a shoelace, not her own. The ME would later determine she'd been dead for approximately 6 hours. Time of death, around midnight. Detective Sarah Reeves stood at the creek's edge as the forensics team worked, her experienced eyes taking in every detail. 22 years on the force, the last 12 in homicide, and she'd never had a case involving a victim so young, so promising. She watched as they photographed footprints on the muddy bank, size 11 men's shoes. A partial fabric tear caught on a thorny bush yielded blue threads matching Maddie's dress. "Detective." An officer approached, holding an evidence bag. "Found this under the bleachers. About 30 yards from the body." Inside the bag was a silver pendant on a broken chain, Maddie's necklace, confirmed by her mother hours later. The shock that rippled through Ashland quickly morphed into suspicion. In towns like this, violence was something that happened elsewhere, in cities, on TV shows. Not to golden girls like Maddie Keane. By noon, the police station was a flurry of activity. Officers interviewed dance attendees, tracking movements and timelines. Detective Reeves sat across from Luke Harding, Maddie's date and ex-boyfriend. At 19, he'd graduated the previous year and now attended State College an hour away. His handsome face was drawn, eyes red-rimmed. "We broke up when I left for college," Luke explained, his fingers drumming nervously on the table. "But we stayed friends. I asked her to homecoming as friends." "Friends," Reeves repeated, studying his body language. "Yet witnesses say you argued during the dance." Luke's jaw tightened. "She told me she didn't want to get back together. I was disappointed, yeah. But I didn't hurt her." "Where did you go after the dance, Luke?" "Home. I left early, around 10:15. My parents were watching a movie when I got in." His parents confirmed his story when interviewed separately. But there was a discrepancy. Luke claimed he arrived home at 10:30, but his mother said it was closer to 11. 15 minutes unaccounted for, 15 crucial minutes. More disturbing was the revelation from Jenna Talbot. Sitting in the same interview room hours later, mascara now completely gone from repeated wiping of tears, she revealed something that changed the investigation's trajectory. "Maddie was scared about something," Jenna said, her voice barely above a whisper. "Last week, she told me she knew something that could ruin a lot of people." Her exact words. "She wouldn't tell me what it was, just that she needed to think about what to do." "Did she mention any names?" Reeves asked. Jenna shook her head. "But she'd been acting weird around Coach Bailey lately. Either avoiding him completely or watching him really carefully." Robert Bailey, 28, had been assistant football coach for 3 years. Former college player. Popular with students and faculty alike. Single, charming, with a reputation for being particularly supportive of female athletes. The investigation took another dark turn when the school's janitor reported something that had been quickly covered up: messages on Maddie's locker, written in red marker, discovered the Monday before she died. Queen bees fall the hardest. Principal Davidson had ordered it painted over immediately, calling it harmless vandalism. When questioned by Detective Reeves about the quick removal of potential evidence, he cited concerns about student morale and unnecessary panic. 3 days after Maddie's death, while executing a search warrant of her bedroom, officers discovered something hidden in the vent: a small, leather-bound notebook. Most pages were filled with typical teenage musings, homework assignments, cheer routines, song lyrics. But the final pages contained cryptic notes. Transcripts changed. Check files in office. Inappropriate texts from Coach R. Not just me. JS2. Cheating scandal bigger than anyone knows. And a name, circled 3 times in red ink: Bailey. When brought in for questioning, Coach Robert Bailey maintained his composure despite the gravity of the accusations. "I mentor a lot of students," he explained, his hands folded calmly on the table. "Maddie was working on a leadership project. Our texts were completely professional." "Then you wouldn't mind us seeing those texts?" Detective Reeves challenged. Bailey's phone, when examined, had been wiped clean of all messages more than 3 days old. A digital forensics team was called in, but recovery proved difficult. Meanwhile, interviews with students revealed that several female athletes had received late-night texts from Bailey's personal number. None admitted to anything inappropriate, but several seemed uncomfortable discussing the subject. Junior varsity cheerleader Jessica Simmons, presumably the JS from Maddie's notes, initially denied any unusual contact with Bailey. But when interviewed a second time, away from her parents, she broke down. "He said he could help me get a sports scholarship," she whispered, eyes fixed on the floor. "Said I had potential but needed private coaching." The texts got personal. "When I told him to stop, he reminded me how much power he had over my future." Jessica hadn't told anyone because she feared not being believed. But then Maddie started asking questions. She said she'd seen messages on his phone when he left it on his desk during practice. She was gathering evidence. The investigation spiraled outward. School records showed several instances where athlete grades had been mysteriously adjusted upward before college recruitment periods. Bailey had access to the system, as did Principal Davidson and 3 administrative staff members. Parents demanded action. The school board placed Bailey on administrative leave pending investigation. Luke Harding, facing mounting suspicion from townspeople, moved out of state to live with relatives and continue his studies elsewhere. But the physical evidence remained frustratingly inconclusive. The shoelace used to strangle Maddie was a common black athletic type, sold in every sporting goods store in 3 counties. The footprints by the creek matched hundreds of possible shoes. No witnesses placed either Luke or Bailey near the creek that night. The case stalled. Months passed. Maddie's empty desk at graduation was adorned with flowers and her posthumously awarded diploma. 4 years later, Ellen Keane started the Walk for Maddie, an annual event drawing attention to unsolved teenage homicide cases. Each October, hundreds walked the 3 blocks from Lakeside High to the Keane home, carrying flashlights against the darkness. In 2015, a forensic cold case team used new techniques on preserved evidence from Maddie's dress. DNA traces were found, but degraded. The sample was partial, inconclusive. Another dead end. Detective Reeves, now approaching retirement, kept a photo of Maddie on her desk alongside other unsolved cases. Sometimes, late at night, she'd review the case files, certain that something had been missed. She'd interviewed Bailey 4 more times over the years. His story never changed. After leaving Ashland, he'd taken a coaching position at a private school 3 states away. No complaints had emerged about him since. Luke Harding graduated college, married, started a family. On the anniversary of Maddie's death each year, flowers would appear at the creek, never with a card, but the timing was impossible to ignore. Jenna Talbot became a counselor, working with at-risk teens. When asked why she chose the profession, she would say simply, "I learned early that some things shouldn't remain unsaid." The town of Ashland healed slowly, as small towns do. New students filled the halls of Lakeside High, most knowing Maddie Keane only as a name on a memorial plaque in the gymnasium. But some remembered. The janitor who discovered a message spray-painted in faint silver at the base of the football field bleachers one morning. She knew. They knew. And now we don't. It was washed off the next day. 7 years after Maddie's death, Jessica Simmons, now a graduate student in forensic science, returned to Ashland. She requested access to the evidence collected from the creek. There was something about the shoelace that had always bothered her. Athletic shoes from that period, she explained to the current detective handling cold cases, had distinctive aglet designs, the plastic tips on the ends of laces. The manufacturer changed the design every 2 years. If we can identify the exact model. Her theory proved correct. The shoelace matched a limited edition training shoe worn by Lakeside coaches and select varsity players during the 2006 to 2007 season. Only 20 pairs had been distributed. Meanwhile, Detective Reeves, now retired but still obsessed with the case, had been quietly building a timeline of text messages from Bailey's phone records. The contents were gone, but the metadata remained: times, dates, frequencies. A pattern emerged: late-night texts to certain female students, always deleted within 48 hours. More disturbing was what she found in archived emails from Principal Davidson to the school board. References to handling the situation discreetly and avoiding unnecessary scandal in the weeks before Maddie's death. The pieces were there, fragmented but present. A prestigious school protecting its reputation. A coach with inappropriate boundaries. A straight-A student who discovered something dangerous. A boyfriend with an incomplete alibi and a quick temper. And through it all, the nagging question: what exactly had Maddie known? What evidence had she collected that made her a threat? Had she confronted someone that night, thinking the homecoming dance provided safety in numbers. Ellen Keane still lives in the same house, 3 blocks from the school. Richard passed away in 2019, never knowing what happened to his daughter. Ellen keeps Maddie's room untouched, a time capsule of teenage dreams frozen in 2007. Every morning, she walks to the creek and back. Every evening, she checks the case status online. The Ashland Police Department website lists the status of the Madison Keane homicide as open, inactive. But cases like this are never truly closed. Not in towns with long memories. Not when whispers still circulate about Coach Bailey's sudden departure or Luke Harding's reluctance to return for high school reunions. Not when Jessica Simmons, now Dr. Simmons, forensic analyst, continues examining evidence in her spare time. Not when every homecoming dance at Lakeside High still feels the shadow of what happened to a girl who knew too much. The truth about Maddie Keane's final walk home lies somewhere between faded memories and buried secrets. Between the pages of a hidden notebook and deleted text messages. Between a shoelace and footprints washed away by time and rain. She knew. They knew. And maybe, someday, we will too. The case remains open. And maddeningly quiet.